The morning sun streams through your window, casting warm light across your desk. As you pause to appreciate this moment, consider this. Are you truly separate from that sunbeam, or is there a profound connection between you and everything around you? This fundamental question leads us to one of Buddhism's most powerful insights, the principle of the oneness of self and environment. Think of yourself as a wave in the ocean. While you appear separate from other waves, you're made of the same water, moving in the same vast sea. Nichiren wrote, "Life at each moment encompasses both the body and mind and the environment." The body and mind themselves are the entity of life, and the environment is the external aspect of life. Just as a wave cannot exist without the ocean, we cannot exist separate from our environment. This teaching tells us something remarkable. Everything we see, touch, and experience is deeply connected to our inner life. The world around us isn't just a backdrop to our existence, it's a mirror reflecting our inner state. When we're anxious or afraid, even a peaceful garden might feel threatening. When we're filled with joy, even a crowded subway car can feel like a gathering of friends. A story from the time of Shakyamuni Buddha illustrates this beautifully. Two monks approached the Buddha's assembly, having walked through the same heavy rainstorm. One complained bitterly about the mud and discomfort, while the other spoke of the beautiful sound of rain on leaves and the fresh, clean air. Same rain, same path, yet totally different experiences. As the Buddha explained to his disciples, the mind is everything. What you think, you become. But this connection goes deeper than just perception. Our inner life actually shapes the physical world around us. Think about someone you know who's deeply depressed. Their home often reflects their state of mind, perhaps becoming cluttered or neglected. Now think of someone who radiates joy and purpose. Their environment usually mirrors that energy, feeling warm and welcoming. Nichiren explained this relationship in a letter to one of his followers. If the minds of living beings are impure, their land is also impure, but if their minds are pure, so is their land. There are not two lands, pure or impure in themselves. The difference lies solely in the good or evil of our minds. This teaching isn't just about personal spaces, it extends to our whole world. Consider our planet's environmental challenges. The state of our forests, oceans, and atmosphere reflects humanity's collective inner state. When greed and short-term thinking dominate our hearts, we see pollution and destruction. When wisdom and compassion guide us, we create sustainable harmony with nature. As one ancient sutra puts it, when the heart is pure, the land is pure. This might sound overwhelming. How can one person's inner state affect such big problems? But that's exactly what makes this teaching so powerful. By changing ourselves, we begin to change everything around us. The Lotus Sutra teaches that every person has the capacity to manifest Buddhahood, a state of ultimate wisdom and compassion. When we tap into this potential, our environment naturally begins to transform. A modern example helps explain this. Imagine you're having a terrible day at work. Everything seems to go wrong, your coworkers appear hostile, and the office feels like a prison. Then something shifts in your mind. Maybe you remember to be grateful for having work, or you choose to see challenges as opportunities for growth. Suddenly, the same office feels different. Your coworkers' actions appear in a new light. The environment hasn't changed, but your experience of it has transformed completely. This brings us to a crucial point. We don't need to wait for perfect conditions to find happiness or make positive changes. As Nichiren wrote to a follower facing difficult circumstances, winter always turns to spring. He wasn't just being poetic, he was describing the power we have to transform any situation through our inner determination and wisdom. The relationship between self and environment works both ways. Just as our inner life affects our surroundings, our environment influences us. This is why Buddhist practice emphasizes creating harmony in both directions. When we chant Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, we're not just working on ourselves. We're sending ripples of positive change throughout our environment. A beautiful passage from Nichiren's writings captures this. When we light a lantern for others, our own way forward becomes bright. This simple metaphor contains profound truth. By working to improve ourselves and help others, we naturally create a more positive environment, which in turn supports our continued growth. Think of it like tending a garden. When we cultivate beautiful flowers in our heart, Qualities like courage, compassion, and wisdom, they naturally bloom in our environment. And when our environment is filled with these flowers, their beauty and fragrance inspire others to grow their own gardens. This is how individual change becomes societal transformation. Remember, though, that this principle doesn't mean we should ignore real problems in our environment or blame ourselves for every difficulty we face. Instead, it empowers us to start making positive changes where we can, in our own hearts and minds. As we elevate our inner life, we become better equipped to tackle challenges in our environment. The ancient Buddhist text Dhammapada begins with the words, "All that we are is the result of what we have thought." Understanding the oneness of self and environment takes this teaching further. All that we experience is connected to our inner life, and by transforming ourselves, we begin to transform our world. This teaching offers hope and responsibility. It tells us we're not helpless victims of our environment, but we're not separate from it either. We're part of an interconnected web of life, where each thought, word, and action ripples out to affect the whole. By understanding this deep connection, we can work more effectively to create positive change, starting with ourselves and expanding to embrace our entire environment. As you finish reading these words, look around you again. The same sun might be shining, but perhaps you see it differently now. In this moment of awareness, you're experiencing the profound truth of the oneness of self and environment, not just as an idea, but as a living reality that can transform your life and your world. The practice of oneness in daily life. The true power of understanding the oneness of self and environment comes alive in our daily actions. Each moment presents an opportunity to witness and work with this profound connection. As Nichiren wrote to his followers, both good and evil are inherent in all phenomena, but whether they produce good or evil depends on how one uses them. Consider your morning routine. When you wake up feeling grateful, even a cloudy day can feel full of possibility. The simple act of making your bed mindfully can transform your whole room's energy. These aren't just psychological tricks, they're practical demonstrations of how our inner life shapes our external reality. The great Buddhist teacher Tian-te explained this relationship through the concept of 3,000 realms in a single moment of life. This teaching reveals how each instant contains the potential for complete transformation. When we understand this, even washing dishes becomes a profound practice. As you handle each plate with care and appreciation, you're not just cleaning, you're actively creating harmony in your environment. One of Nichiren's most encouraging teachings states, "When you bow to the Gohanzen, your Buddha nature is summoning the Buddha nature of the Gohanzen to merge with your own." This points to something essential about the oneness of self and environment. Transformation happens through resonance. Just as two tuning forks vibrating at the same frequency will cause each other to sound, our inner changes create corresponding shifts in our environment. Think about times when you've been in nature. Perhaps you've noticed how a peaceful forest seems to calm your mind, while crashing waves might energize you. This isn't just poetic imagination, it's the oneness of self and environment in action. The Lotus Sutra describes how the Buddha's enlightenment caused flowers to rain from the sky and the earth to tremble. While this may be metaphorical, it captures a deep truth about how profound inner transformation manifests in our environment. But what about when things go wrong? The principle of oneness works even in difficult circumstances. As Nichiren wrote to a follower facing severe problems, regard both suffering and joy as facts of life, and continue chanting Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, no matter what happens. This isn't passive acceptance, it's active engagement with life's challenges through the lens of Buddhist wisdom. Consider environmental problems like climate change. The Buddhist perspective suggests these aren't just external issues to be solved with technology alone. They reflect humanity's collective inner state and require inner transformation alongside practical action. When we truly understand our oneness with the environment, caring for the earth becomes as natural as caring for our own body. The workplace offers another powerful arena for practicing this principle. Instead of seeing your job as something separate from your Buddhist practice, recognize it as an environment shaped by and reflecting your inner life. A simple shift in attitude, from viewing work as a burden to seeing it as an opportunity for growth, can transform your entire professional experience. Relationships, too, demonstrate the oneness of self and environment. The people in our lives are part of our environment, and our interactions with them reflect our inner state. As one sutra teaches, when the heart is compassionate, all beings are embraced. This doesn't mean others are merely projections of our mind, but rather that our inner life profoundly affects how we perceive and interact with them. The historical Buddha provided a beautiful metaphor for this interconnection in the Avatamsaka Sutra, describing the universe as Indra's net, an infinite network where each intersection contains a jewel that reflects all other jewels. Similarly, each aspect of our life reflects and influences every other aspect. Your home environment affects your state of mind, which affects your work performance, which affects your relationships, which in turn affect your home environment. All parts of one integrated whole. This understanding leads to a revolutionary way of creating change. Instead of fighting against external circumstances, we can focus on transforming our inner life, knowing that our environment will naturally shift in response. As Nichiren explained, when your mind is troubled, the place you live in becomes disordered. When your mind is calm, your dwelling place is peaceful. But this isn't magic, it's cause and effect operating at the deepest level. When you transform your inner state from anger to compassion, you naturally speak and act differently. These changed behaviors affect your environment, which in turn supports your continued growth. It's a positive spiral of transformation that begins with your determination to change. The practice of the oneness of self and environment also teaches us patience. Just as a garden doesn't bloom overnight, environmental changes may take time to manifest. The key is maintaining steady practice while trusting in the process. As Nichiren reminded his followers, the journey from Kamakura to Kyoto takes 12 days. If you travel for 11 but stop with only 1 day remaining, how can you admire the moon over the capital? In conclusion, the oneness of self and environment isn't just a philosophical concept, it's a practical guide for living. Every moment offers a chance to harmonize our inner life with our surroundings, creating positive change that ripples outward in ever-widening circles. As you move through your day, remember, you're not just passing through your environment, you're intimately connected with it, co-creating each moment through the power of your inner life. The power of transformation. When we deeply understand the oneness of self and environment, we begin to see every challenge as an opportunity for growth. This isn't mere positive thinking. It's a profound reality described in the Lotus Sutra as turning poison into medicine. As Nichiren explained, the sufferings of hell and hunger are none other than the workings of the mystic law. Consider a garden choked with weeds. The untrained eye sees only problems, but a skilled gardener sees potential compost, future nourishment for beautiful flowers. Similarly, when we face difficulties, our Buddhist practice enables us to transform them into sources of growth. This is what Nichiren meant when he wrote, "Regard your problems as you would regard rain falling on a drought-stricken field." The ancient story of Angulimala illustrates this principle powerfully. Once a feared murderer, his encounter with the Buddha's wisdom transformed him into a peaceful monk. His environment, once filled with fear and violence, became one of healing and redemption. This dramatic change began with an inner transformation that then manifested in his surroundings. But transformation doesn't always require dramatic circumstances. Even small changes in our inner life can create significant environmental shifts. When you greet your family with genuine warmth in the morning, you're actually changing the weather in your home. When you maintain order in your workspace, you're creating conditions for clear thinking and productive action. The Lotus Sutra describes this process through the metaphor of rain falling equally on all plants. Each plant grows according to its nature, nourished by the same rain. Similarly, the universal law of cause and effect operates impartially, but how it manifests depends on our inner state and actions. As Nichiren wrote, the mighty sword of the Lotus Sutra must be wielded by one courageous in faith. This teaches us something crucial about creating positive change. While the principle of oneness means our environment reflects our inner life, we still need to take action. If you want a beautiful garden, understanding the oneness of self and environment isn't enough. You need to plant seeds, pull weeds, and tend the soil. The difference is that you do these tasks with the wisdom that your inner state and your environment are working together. Modern environmental challenges illustrate this perfectly. Understanding our oneness with the environment naturally leads to more sustainable choices, but we still need to make those choices consciously. As one sutra states, all things are ultimately empty, yet the law of cause and effect remains unalterable. Our actions matter precisely because we're one with our environment. This understanding transforms how we view success and failure. Since our environment reflects our inner life, external achievements alone don't bring lasting happiness. True success comes from developing our Buddha nature, our highest potential, which naturally creates value in both our life and environment. As Nichiren taught, suffer what there is to suffer, enjoy what there is to enjoy, and continue chanting Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. The practice of maintaining a consistent rhythm of Buddhist practice regardless of circumstances, what Nichiren called faith like flowing water, becomes especially powerful when we understand the oneness of self and environment. Each time we chant Nam Myoho Renge Kyo or study Buddhist wisdom, we're not just working on ourselves, we're positively influencing our entire environment. Consider this through the lens of quantum physics, which suggests that the observer affects the observed. Buddhism taught this principle thousands of years ago through the concept of Esho Funi, the oneness of self and environment. When we change how we observe and interact with our environment, we change the environment itself. The ultimate goal isn't to create perfect circumstances. That's impossible in this impermanent world. Instead, we aim to develop the wisdom to create value in any circumstance. As the Lotus Sutra teaches through the parable of the burning house, even challenging situations can lead to enlightenment when we respond with wisdom. This brings us to perhaps the most empowering aspect of this principle. Every moment contains the potential for positive transformation. Whether you're stuck in traffic, facing a work deadline, or dealing with family stress, you can use that situation to develop your Buddha nature. As you do, your environment will inevitably reflect that growth. Nichiren's writings frequently return to the image of the lotus flower, which blooms beautifully in muddy water. This perfectly captures the essence of the oneness of self and environment. We don't need to wait for perfect conditions to create value. The very challenges we face become the nutrients for our growth when we understand and apply this principle. As you continue your own journey of Buddhist practice, remember that you're never separate from your environment. Every thought, word, and action creates ripples of cause and effect that shape both your life and your surroundings. By maintaining strong faith in your Buddha nature and the power of Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, you can transform any situation into an opportunity for growth and positive change. In this way, the principle of the oneness of self and environment becomes more than a philosophical concept. It becomes a daily tool for creating positive change in your life and contributing to a better world. As Nichiren promised, when you embrace the mystic law, both your life and your environment will shine. Living the principle, the great Buddhist master Nagarjuna once compared the relationship between self and environment to a painter creating a picture. Just as an artist's inner vision takes form on canvas, our inner life manifests in our surroundings. But unlike a painting that remains static once complete, our environment constantly evolves with our changing inner state. Think of times when you've traveled to a new place. Two people can visit the same location and have entirely different experiences. One might notice the kindness of locals, while another encounters only rudeness. Same place, different experiences. This is the oneness of self and environment in action. As Nichiren wrote, the realm of the environment is like a shadow, and the realm of the self is like the body. Without the body, no shadow can exist. But this teaching goes beyond just perception. When we truly grasp the oneness of self and environment, we begin to take full responsibility for our life condition. If we're constantly encountering conflict, instead of blaming others, we look within. What aspects of our own life need transformation? This is what Shakyamuni Buddha meant when he said, "Be islands unto yourselves," being your own refuge, with no one else as your refuge. The practice becomes especially powerful in family life. Parents often notice that when they're stressed or angry, their children's behavior worsens. When they maintain calm and compassion, the home environment naturally becomes more harmonious. This isn't coincidence, it's the principle of Esho Funi at work. As one sutra states, when the mind is pure, the land is pure. Consider also how this principle applies to work. Many people feel trapped in negative workplace environments, but understanding the oneness of self and environment offers a path to transformation. Instead of seeing yourself as a victim of circumstances, you can become an agent of positive change. As Nichiren encouraged, the wise will rejoice while the foolish will retreat. This doesn't mean ignoring real problems or accepting harmful situations. Rather, it means recognizing our power to influence our environment through our inner transformation. A single person manifesting wisdom and compassion can shift the atmosphere of an entire office. As the Buddha taught, thousands of candles can be lighted from a single candle, and the life of the candle will not be shortened. The relationship between individual and societal transformation becomes clearer through this lens. Social change doesn't just happen through external actions, it requires a parallel inner transformation. When enough individuals elevate their life condition, the entire social environment begins to shift. This is what Nichiren meant when he wrote about Kosen Rufu, or world peace through individual happiness. Modern science is beginning to understand what Buddhism has long taught about interconnectedness. Quantum physics reveals how observer and observed are inseparable. Environmental science shows how local actions affect global systems. These discoveries echo the ancient wisdom of the oneness of self and environment. Yet this teaching shouldn't lead to spiritual bypassing or denial of real-world problems. Instead, it empowers us to engage more effectively with challenges. When we understand that our inner life and environment are one, we naturally take more responsible action. As one sutra teaches, all phenomena are manifestations of the mystic law. The practice becomes particularly relevant in times of crisis. When facing personal or global challenges, we can draw on this wisdom to maintain hope and take effective action. Instead of being overwhelmed by circumstances, we focus on what we can control, our inner response to events. As Nichiren advised, when we light a lantern for others, our own way forward becomes bright. This brings us to the concept of human revolution, the process of inner transformation that creates positive change in both self and environment. Each small victory, each moment of choosing wisdom over ignorance, compassion over anger, creates ripples of positive change in our environment. These ripples intersect with others, creating waves of transformation. Remember that this practice isn't about achieving perfection. It's about engaging with life as it is, moment by moment, with wisdom and compassion. Some days you'll feel deeply connected to this principle, other days it may seem abstract. What matters is continuing to practice, trusting in the process of transformation. The ultimate message of the oneness of self and environment is profoundly hopeful. No matter what circumstances we face, we have the power to create positive change through our inner transformation. As Nichiren wrote, if you light a fire for others, it will also brighten your own way. As we conclude this exploration, consider how you might apply this principle in your daily life. What aspects of your environment would you like to transform? Remember that the key to changing your environment lies within your own heart. Through consistent Buddhist practice and the courage to face both internal and external challenges, you can create positive changes that benefit both yourself and others. In the words of Nichiren, when you embrace the mystic law, both your life and your environment will shine. This is not just a poetic metaphor but a practical truth that you can verify through your own experience. Each day offers countless opportunities to witness and work with the profound unity of life itself. The path of inner and outer transformation. Understanding the oneness of self and environment reveals a profound truth about personal transformation. It's never just personal. Every change we make within ourselves creates ripples that affect our entire environment. As Nichiren wrote, when one's mind is tainted, the land also becomes tainted. When the mind is pure, the land is pure as well. Let's explore this through the lens of daily practice. Every morning when you chant Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, you're not just working on yourself. You're actually engaging with the deepest law of life itself, what the Lotus Sutra calls the true aspect of all phenomena. This engagement naturally affects everything around you, though the changes might not be immediately visible. Think of it like planting a seed. When you first put a seed in the ground, nothing appears to change on the surface. But beneath the soil, profound transformations are taking place. Similarly, your Buddhist practice may seem separate from your environment at first, but the connections run deep. As the Lotus Sutra states, all phenomena are ultimately equal, and all are manifestations of the mystic law. This understanding transforms how we approach difficulties. When facing challenges, many people's first instinct is to try changing their environment, switching jobs, ending relationships, moving to new places. While sometimes these changes are necessary, the principle of oneness teaches us to look deeper. As one sutra explains, all worldly phenomena are manifestations of the mind. Consider a person who constantly encounters conflict at work. They might blame their coworkers or the company culture. But understanding the oneness of self and environment leads to a different approach. Instead of just seeking external changes, they might ask, what aspects of my own life condition are contributing to these conflicts? How can I transform myself to create a more harmonious environment? This doesn't mean blaming ourselves for every problem we encounter. Rather, it empowers us to focus on what we can control, our inner response to circumstances. As Nichiren taught, when we change our heart, the environment will follow. This is not magical thinking but a recognition of the deep interconnection between inner life and outer circumstances. The practice becomes especially powerful when we face seemingly insurmountable challenges. Even in the midst of serious problems, we can create positive change by maintaining faith in our Buddha nature and continuing to practice. As Nichiren wrote to a follower facing severe difficulties, winter always turns to spring. Never, from ancient times on, has anyone heard or seen of winter turning back to autumn. This brings us to an essential point about creating value. When we understand the oneness of self and environment, every situation becomes an opportunity for growth. Even apparent obstacles can be transformed into stepping stones toward enlightenment. This is what Nichiren meant when he wrote, "Regard both suffering and joy as facts of life, and continue chanting Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, no matter what happens." The relationship between individual and collective transformation also becomes clearer through this lens. As we elevate our own life condition, we naturally influence those around us. One person maintaining hope and compassion in difficult circumstances can inspire many others. As the Buddha taught, just as a solid rock is not shaken by the wind, the wise are not shaken by praise or blame. This teaching has profound implications for how we view social change. While external reforms are important, lasting transformation must include changes in human consciousness. When we understand that self and environment are one, we see that working on ourselves is not separate from working for social justice. As Nichiren wrote, if you want to understand the causes that existed in the past, look at the results as they are manifested in the present. And if you want to understand what results will be manifested in the future, look at the causes that exist in the present. The practice becomes especially relevant in our current age of environmental crisis. The degradation of our natural environment reflects a deeper crisis in human consciousness. Understanding the oneness of self and environment shows us that protecting nature isn't just about changing external behaviors. It requires a fundamental shift in how we view our relationship with the earth. Yet this teaching also offers hope. Just as negative thought patterns can create destructive environmental cycles, positive transformation can create virtuous circles of improvement. When we manifest our Buddha nature, we naturally create a more harmonious environment, which in turn supports further positive growth. The key is maintaining consistent practice regardless of circumstances. As Nichiren taught, whether you chant the Buddha's name once or a million times, only your faith will determine the strength of the connection between you and the Buddha. Each time we chant Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, study Buddhist wisdom, or take action based on faith, we're strengthening the positive connection between our inner life and our environment. This journey of transformation has no endpoint. It's a continuous process of growth and discovery. Each day brings new opportunities to witness and work with the profound unity of life itself. As you continue your practice, remember that you're not just changing yourself, you're participating in the transformation of your entire environment. Through this understanding, even small actions take on deeper significance. A kind word spoken with sincerity, a task completed with full attention, a moment taken to appreciate beauty. These all contribute to the positive transformation of both self and environment. As Nichiren promised, when one brings forth one's inherent Buddhahood, all other living beings and the environment also reveal their Buddha nature.